I grew up in southern New Hampshire, and I had some interesting times in East Derry. I grew up on a cul-de-sac with a police captain and a detective as my neighbors. A lot of weird, strange things happened while living there, most connected to the house itself. I had a type of shadow person. It would take the shape of my family members, and years after moving from that house, my older brother would tell me, "Whatever it was liked you," which brings us to one of my many stories. My best friend lived 5 houses from me, and her parents owned a pop-up camper. It was located to the side of their porch, which had the door that the family used as a main entrance. Being the young 12 to 14-year-olds we were, we had many sleepovers in it with other kids in the neighborhood. We had a few experiences, and I will tell you the most haunting one of them. This night, it was just her and I. We're both girls, and at that age, we would bicker over the dumbest things. This night, it was her throwing a piece of gum to me, and it getting lost between one of the mattresses and the lining of the camper. She wasn't willing to give me another piece, which leads to us butting heads. We were bickering back and forth about her giving me another piece when we both went dead quiet. All of a sudden, we both heard what sounded like footsteps walking around the camper. Then came the talking. I don't know how to describe it other than it being right there, like a whisper, but still sounding so distant. It was male, and we could not make out what it was saying. It was in another language. We looked at each other with concern, and I remember her taking off her socks. They were fuzzy, new, and mine, so you know kid us didn't want them getting ruined. And us just making the 15 sprint to that side door inside, and up the stairs to her room while grabbing the house phone on the way. Her parents were drunks, so we didn't wake them. Instead, we did the only rational thing and called my house. My mom ended up driving around the neighborhood 2 times, only to call us back and tell us she saw nothing. We were so freaked out that we slept on the floor next to each other. Where we slept was under the window that overlooked her front yard. I'm not sure when we fell asleep, but before we did, we both remember hearing the sound of raking or digging. This is a story going on almost 20 years ago now. I am to this day still friends with my childhood best friend. If I ever tell this story, or the other ones that happened, and someone doubts it, I will text her, and she will reply backing me up every time. A lot of weird stuff takes place in Derry. A Monkeytown horror story. Oh, hello. I'm a 24-year-old male who was born and raised in northern New England. I grew up hearing all the scary stories and urban legends that haunted my dreams. But there was one local legend that everyone in my high school knew about: Monkeytown. Monkeytown was supposed to be a Christian retreat camp. You'd have to take this road in between a funeral home and a cemetery, down this big hill, and you'd enter what looks like the set from The Village. It was a big circle of old-style houses, with a big white church in the middle. I'll describe it more later in the story. But it was always a dare to see how far you could walk down into the camp without chickening out. I remember a couple times in middle school, a few friends and I made it halfway down the hill and bitched out. The year was 2011, junior year. I had just gotten my license and my first car, a classic Chevy Blazer. One night I was driving around with 2 friends. One who went to the same high school as me. Let's call her Bessie. And one who didn't. We'll call him Cale. Bessie and I thought it might be funny to take Cale down to Monkeytown and see what happens. So the 3 of us hopped into my Blazer, and there we went. I remember putting on some of the instrumental music from 1978's Halloween to set the mood. And how dumb was I? As we got down the hill, mind you, we are in my car the entire time, we made our way around the circle, mesmerized by this entire community separated from society. One thing that stuck out was this red light at the top of the church's steeple. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw movement. That's when I remember thinking, no fucking way. I quickly turned my head to my left and see a giant man in overalls running full speed towards my car. Most fucked up part about this man is he was carrying a bat or tool of some sort. I didn't even think. I slammed on the gas and we got the hell out of there. The three of us couldn't believe what the fuck just happened. I'm pretty sure we just went back to my house to recover from the scare. We passed out. All was well. The next day, I was chilling with another friend, James, and his girlfriend, Sadie. I told them about last night's events, and they sure as shit, they didn't buy it. Me, a 17-year-old teenage boy, wanted to prove them wrong. So we all hopped into my Blazer and headed back to Monkeytown. This time, my Blazer was full. We had picked up two other girls, who coincidentally had the same name, and another buddy of mine, Joe. I made James drive my Blazer and I sat shotgun. As we all headed down, the tension rose. We got halfway around the circle until one of the girls started screaming. This time, there were at least 5 men running at my car, and 3 of them definitely had weapons. James didn't know what to do. It's like he froze. The men were all yelling, "Get the fuck out of the car!" They were legitimately shaking my car back and forth. I remember being crouched down so far in the seat, as if that did anything. Finally, James slammed on the gas and peeled out of there. As I began taking all my friends home, I got a call from my mom. Apparently, 2 police officers were in my kitchen. One of the Monkeytown civilians had called the police and told them we tried to run them over. What bullshit. I was furious. We raced to my house to explain to the officers what actually happened. All in all, the cops didn't seem too interested. No crime was committed. To this day, I can't help but think what would have happened if we had gotten out of the car. What kind of Christian retreat camp is that? Anyways, creepy Monkeytown men, let's not meet. My basement has no hole. There are some really, really messed up reasons to live in a haunted house. I, being of sound mind and body, don't know any of them, but I am superstitious as all hell. So when the wife and I moved up to New Hampshire, right on the Vermont border, we were looking for a place to rent for a year or 2 before we bought a house. Now, for all the New Englanders here, my wife is a native. I'm not. She's used to New England and the vast emptiness the small area has. There are places even she won't let me travel after a certain hour because that route you have to take, people don't come back from. Of course, I'm not a native, so I don't know this. So when I would come home late after dark from work and tell her I took X route, she would kind of look in shock and awe at my stupidity. We found a home right on the above-mentioned border, on the Vermont side. We loved it. It was a fantastic place to live. Except the basement. I could not shake the feeling of being watched and stalked like prey. So like any reasonable adult, I just said fuck it and didn't go down there, except during the day. So one night, after gaming for hours in my loft, office, man cave, I got hungry. Went downstairs, kissed the missus, and walked past my basement door towards my kitchen. I don't know if anyone reading this has gone hunting, but there is a moment you sometimes experience, especially hunting predators like coyote, wolf, bear. Sometimes they know you have them in your sight. Sometimes they look towards you, not quite at you, but it feels like they are boring into your soul, saying, "You got me. Make it quick." It's an eerie feeling, and sometimes you take the shot, sometimes you don't. On that night, as I was walking past that door downstairs, I saw red eyes and a humanoid figure, and I froze. I stopped dead in my fucking tracks. I gave that same look of, "You got me, make it quick." After that momentary lapse of sanity, I just scooted real quick away from the door, grabbed a weapon, and called my wife, saying someone was downstairs, call the police. There was no other entrance to the basement, and I had the door covered with my weapon from a safe position, where I could easily run from the house. Cops show up. I disarm. They clear the house. They find no person, but a set of muddy footprints that start facing towards the stairs up, that then proceed to walk into a wall in the back corner of the basement by the water heater. For some context, the wall in question also blocked off the area directly under my bedroom. It was a solid wall with a small crawl space and about maybe 4 inches of clearance on the other side of it. Cops call detectives. Detectives check it out. Can't see anyone in it. They can't enter it. Photographs are taken. Shoe sizes compared. My feet too big. Wife's feet too small. Get a good contact number for the detective. Wife and I stay at a hotel for a couple nights. For months afterwards, I would have the same thing happen, eventually minus the cops. It actually got relatively normal. Good old Red Eyes in the basement, chillin' like a villain. Wife was less enthused by my antics, cheerfully just going about, and when I would spot Red Eyes, I would give him a cheery, "Good morning, how you doing?" Of which we would still have muddy footprints, and I would just clean them up. So, COVID hits. Lockdowns happen. And we have an opportunity to move to a better house, one where we would be able to work at home better. The main reason the home was better was we had a mold issue in this house. It was in between the panes of glass and the windows. Every day we were cleaning it up from the windowsills, door frames. Hell, we had to replace pieces of furniture multiple times. And we are very clean people. We notified the landlord over multiple months, and eventually a year. And after their actions not helping at all, we decided to move. Landlord decided to get a housing inspector out there immediately after we left. Inspector comes and verifies there is a mold issue. I don't know if they met Red Eyes. However, they did find a metric ton of readings of high spore counts on the wall bordering the space below my old bedroom. The wall where the footprints always ended. So, since it was filled, the inspector scoops a little bit of the earth on the other side of the wall through that crawl space. It wasn't earth as in dirt. It was approximately 7 feet of mold. The landlord then immediately contacted specialists to remove all of it and notified me to offer some kind of damages for it, in the form of refunded partial rent payments. All in all, made my 2020 pretty good. Until about 3 months later. Landlord calls me and offers to send me a full refund of all rent from the time I was living there, minus what she already gave. Why? There was a corpse. The medical examiner said it was the man who owned the property before my landlord. He was a lineman who, after talking to surviving family members, wore a size 8 shoe. Smaller than my size 11 shoes. Bigger than my wife's shoes by a mile. Fuck me, Red Eyes. I don't know how you got there, but hell, bud, I hope you now found peace. Sorry for not checking it out sooner. I did, after reading about his obituary and contacting his family, swing by his final resting place to drop off flowers, place a stone, and share a good morning like I used to. Till better times, Red Eyes.